Hi, I'm Dorian, or Leviathan to my friends, and I'm an eldritch abomination living in the corners of your attic. And you see, the reason why I live in your attic and not my attic is because I'm an artist who is incredibly afraid of the ever-approaching AI that wants to take my job, and the tech bros that laugh in my face while they scrub out my ritual circles. Of course, I'm being hyperbolic here. In reality, I am a small enough artist that the AI tech cult hasn't really caught on that my art is good food for their machines. I don't have to sit for hours scouring the internet for AI fakes of my own work, but I do worry about when and if that will ever happen. So I'm here to help other artists understand why they shouldn't be using generative AI, and also try to help you figure out the ways that you can spot AI art, as well as stopping the tech bros in their tracks. Also, as a disclaimer before we start, if it wasn't obvious, I don't like generative AI. This will be a controversial and probably touchy subject for some of you folk, and some, if not all of my points, will be hotly debated in the comments, but I don't care. You see, I'm autistic, and I think very black and white. There's not a lot of gray in there when it comes to AI art in general. For now, sit back and relax, or don't relax, as I yell about AI here. Let's get the obvious out of the way here. AI art is taking away jobs and opportunities from real artists. We'll get started with a couple specific examples, both brought to us by the wonderful corporation that is Wizards of the Coast. Our beloved, or beloathed in this case, company was caught using generative AI for a background in promotional materials for Magic the Gathering. There were quite a few glaring mistakes that people on Twitter found quite fast, and they are definitely mistakes that no professional would have made ever in their life. I don't know why it would have been so hard to hire an artist to make a background piece for a promotional ad, but I don't work at the company, so what do I know, I guess? I'm just an artist. To make matters worse, this came on the coattails of another issue that Wizards of the Coast had, where within their book Bigby Presents The Glory of Giants, there were quite a few AI mistakes within the artwork. For example, Frostmourne just straight up didn't have any feet, and the hands just don't look like hands. They look like they're backwards, or the knuckles are wrong. It's just awful. Now, this has been somewhat fixed, according to J.R. Zambrano of belloveloftSouls.net, where I got all of this information from. The digital versions of the book were changed on D&D Beyond, while the printed versions of the book stayed the same. I feel bad for everyone who bought physical versions of this book, because not only did you have Frostmourne, we also have dinosaurs that look like they came straight out of a child's nightmare. I don't know who greenlit this at Wizards of the Coast, but they really shouldn't have. Wizards of the Coast has said that they're going to rework their agreements with artists so that they don't use generative AI art within their pieces, and they're gonna crack down on it, this, that, and the other thing. Really shouldn't have done it in the first place though, huh? Maybe you should have thought of that before you tried to pump out books every couple months, and maybe you should have just hired artists to work on them. Just a thought. It's really sad to see money go to people who just want to make a quick buck, rather than to artists that could have used that paycheck towards medical bills or electricity, or just the subscriptions that you need to use art programs anymore. But, you know, sadly, they made the decision to use AI art instead. Does that really seem ethical to you? Or at the very least, does it seem fair? It shouldn't. Artists spend about an average of 4 years at college or university, spending thousands on student loans, only to have their careers get yoinked out from underneath them, like we're on some sick Looney Tunes cartoon. With all of these opportunities being erased from the job boards for actual artists, we really have nowhere to run to for employment beyond ourselves or the odd indie project that has a sense to not use generative AI. Unfortunately, most of those indie companies don't hire at the volume that we need, and it really is incredibly hard for people to make a living out on the internet. Even if you get commissions regularly and you have a really awesome Patreon, you just have to be incredibly lucky, and most people don't have that kind of luck. They are literally forcing us into the starving artist stereotype, and then they point and laugh at us when we talk about it. And it all boils down to the fact that these people think that they're entitled to somehow use our art for their own gain. Generative AI programs like Midjourney scrape servers filled with art from various artists to then mash together into some horrid amalgamation after somebody does a few keystrokes to fill in a phrase. That's not how art is made. They outright brag on their Twitter pages that they build databases of just one artist so that thousands of people only have to type in insert person's style here and get a full painting. They are stealing someone's work. I've gone through this 2 separate times on videos. You can't steal a person's art style, but you can steal their work. If you want to recreate how your favorite artist does shadows on a certain piece, you're going to sit down and you're going to try to recreate that, but using your own work. That's not how AI works. AI will literally just take a finished piece or a sketch or whatever, and they'll mash it together with other works and create something else. That's literally stealing. That's not doing a master study. That's not referencing something. That is literally stealing. It is using that art without explicit permission from the artist. AI cannot put its own original spin onto something. Tech bros will always be second best to the person that originally made a painting, and they're too afraid to admit it. AI art cannot exist at this point in time without us real artists. And that is because AI cannot think like us. It doesn't have the same experiences, and at this point, it never will. We don't live in Cyberpunk 2077 or The Matrix, and we most certainly don't even have flying cars yet. AI can only create art because it eats ours up. So what happens when artists finally put their foot down and stop making art that people can freely use and find out on the internet? What happens when art fades from existence and it can seemingly only be made by machines? Society will collapse. Art will be gone from the world completely. Capitalism will have truly ruined art at that point. There's a couple different reasons why people on Twitter who are fake artists and the corporations that want to hire them are churning out art as if their life depends on it. 1, it's to make as much money as possible, and 2, for the instant gratification. Big companies are always looking to make things cheaper, faster, and easier. The gaming and animation industry is huge, so of course people want to milk it for all that it's worth. Unfortunately, CEOs don't care about the story you create or the fact that you spent hours and hours and hours on an environmental painting for a concept art book for your favorite video game. They only want to get paid, and they want to get paid fast, and they want to get paid a lot. Wizards of the Coast knowingly used AI because it cuts corners. It saved them a lot of money in the long run, at least at first, before they had to fix their mistakes. They don't see artists as people. They don't see any of their employees as people. Once they saw that they could make millions off of AI art that looks okay as long as you don't squint at it, they jumped onto that train. And the truth is, most people won't care about it. At least the consumer base of a game or a show that's made with AI won't care. The majority of people only care that they are being sold something that can take their minds off of their day-to-day. They're not thinking about if AI made that brushstroke or if the clothing and armor was a little too weird and definitely wasn't made by human hands. They're all for the instant gratification, which is why they'll normally retweet AI art without a second thought. And it's also why the tech bros on Twitter also make AI art. As long as those artists can follow trends and make art that is at least somewhat aesthetically pleasing, they'll get thousands of likes and retweets, and they post often enough that they're going to explode into popularity. They fall down that tantalizing rabbit hole in search of the next dopamine or serotonin hit. These people are a horror story to every creator that got too attached to their analytics and wanted the easy way to happiness. They create without joy. They create something that looks like it should be art, but it isn't. Let me take you back to Wizards of the Coast. Did you know that they had a program a little while back where children would submit creature designs and artists would bring them to life? It's called Misplaced Monsters, and it was in partnership with a charity to give medical care to children who severely needed it. The monsters in this book were all designed and created by sick children who needed that bit of joy back in their lives. You can see the pure, unadulterated love and wonder that these kids put into their drawings, and that love was doubled then by the artists who rendered them. Do you think a machine could actually do that? Could a machine recreate the happiness of a child going wild with a box set of crayons while they sit on the floor of their hospital room? I don't think so. Anyone who says that they get genuine happiness out of plugging in phrases into an AI art machine has never felt the overwhelming sense of pride when their art teacher gives them the thumbs up and an A+ on a piece they'd worked on for months. They don't know what it's like to sit back and look at the line art of an illustration you've cried and blubbered over and smile because you finally got over that hurdle. And it looks awesome. In fact, it looks so good you could cry all over again. And you probably do, because it's yours. And you can be incredibly proud of that. Your creativity and skill and time made that. In that moment, you are the child laying in a sunbeam on your living room floor, breaking crayons and wearing colored pencils down to nubs, all to make a masterpiece that your parents put on the fridge door for years to come. These AI artists don't actually know the first thing about actual art because they've never been brave enough to pick up a pencil and actually try to make something. At the end of the day, we can't stop AI art immediately, but we can make it harder for them to make. There's programs like Nightshade that poison the art you make, so when they try to recreate it, the bros will be met with something that is entirely not an anime schoolgirl, but a cat made out of rainbows. There's also Glaze that makes it harder for them to use your artwork and acts like a watermark. If that's not your thing, you can also just put a noise layer over your artwork, set it to a blending mode you like, and top it off with your signature. Just make sure you export your illustration or whatever you're making at a lower DPI like 72. If you're afraid that somebody you follow makes AI art, or you're afraid to follow somebody who might make AI art, there's a couple ways that you can spot that. Now, this is not foolproof, but they post art at an alarming rate. Some people hoard all of their art and then post it. You know, it happens. If they're posting really, really painterly pieces that should probably take them about 10 hours to make, there's a good chance that that's AI. You can also usually spot AI art by looking for things that are out of place or don't look quite right. Most of the time, there's inconsistency in hands or feet or armor, and clothing just doesn't connect the way that it should. This also happens a lot with hair. I don't know why. Another good thing to point out is that I see a lot of Pinterest art that kind of look like character expression sheets or turnarounds. Those can't be made by AI art, as far as I know. There was a Twitter user that works in the industry that quote retweeted some AI art post a while ago. I thought I had it bookmarked. Apologies. If somebody finds it, let me know. This professional said that AI cannot replicate expressions and turnarounds as they should to an industry standard. Usually the expression in the character sheets will always stay the same, which it shouldn't be. It should be happy and sad and angry, etc. If something looks very too samey and has no variation, there's a huge chance it's AI. What you'll find also is that a lot of this AI art, especially things that are created in Midjourney, tend to all look very anime samey. Like, they all look very generic, anime woman or anime men or like a chibi. And they're all in this really weird sort of art style that doesn't actually look real, if that makes sense. It just doesn't look right. Other than that, all we can really do is keep making art and sharing it. Things will get better. It's just probably going to get much, much worse before it does. But they can't keep us down, and they can't take the genuine joy that we get out of art. And to you tech pros, you should go into my attic. I have some very profitable art for you. It's right there in the middle of my magic circles. Don't be afraid. The void back there doesn't want to harm you at all.
Thank you to Jacques, Herald of the Dark Roast, Meg, Exarch of the Golden Egg, High Artisan Anonymous B, Great Alpha Wolf Squilliam William, Nairuz, Seer of Rosy Mercy, Ghost, Infernal Collector of the Damned, Golden Paladin Court, Isabella, Redeemer of Bad Himbos, Keeper of the Lapin Warren, Robin, Most Royal of all the Rats, Ethereal Consort of House Vicarian, Fungal Sovereign Taz, Exalted Curator Wick, the Under-Elf of Delphinia, Paragon of Starlight, an impossible amount of rat babies, Divine Herald Jordan, Estrella, Sage of the Outer Realms, Wretched Sauce of House Worcestershire, Champion Pallypunk of the Immortal Valley, Tailor of Macabre Coney Livery, Eternal Apostle Austin, the Contingent of Fables, the Eminence of Light, Bunny, Exarch of the Ornate Tomb, Harley the Sanguinous, Grand Overlord Silas, Being of Exalted Sunlight, Delegate of Clan Latineurs, Eternal Consul Puja, High Magi Katie, the Herald of Wrens, Knight Susan of the Milkiest Order, and the Great Seer Claire.